Court is back in session once again. Welcome back to another episode of Tony's Takes. This is going to be episode 2 in my mini-series breaking down each and every single one of the starting offensive linemen on the New York Giants heading into the 2021 NFL season. This was a topic suggested to me by our member, Michael G. Shout out to you, Michael, for coming up with the idea for this topic. And this is, of course, my way of letting you know that members have the ability to give me topics to discuss on this channel in these episodes of Tony's Takes. Of course, I'll look at any topics that are presented to me, but members get the priority. I go through theirs first. So check out the membership section of the site, and also check me out on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo if you're interested. But without further ado, let's get into episode 2. Talking about Will Hernandez, he is technically the right guard, but I'm going with him since I always still think of him as a left guard, but he will be the right guard this upcoming season, presumably the starting right guard. So Will Hernandez, we'll get into him. We'll talk about his strengths, his weaknesses, what big question hangs over his head going into this upcoming season, and bottom line for him heading into 2020-21. That's how we'll format this. And so, like I said, let's go ahead and get into it and talk about Will Hernandez as he enters I believe this is his fourth season in the NFL. This is a make or break year for him. What are Will Hernandez's strengths? Now, to me, when I watch him, when I have over the past 3 years, it's his pass blocking, but you wouldn't know that if you watch his film from 2020. Okay, he was disastrous in pass protection in 2020 and was actually a better run blocker this past season. Despite the previous 2 seasons, he was a significantly better pass protector. Very strange, very interesting, but we're going to get into all of that in a little bit. In his first 2 seasons, pass blocking in the NFL, Will Hernandez had above average PFF pass blocking grades. In 2018, his PFF pass blocking grade was 73.1. That year, he let up 29 pressures on 633 pass blocking snaps and only 5 sacks, which is pretty good, pretty impressive. 2019, he had a 72.5 PFF pass blocking grade. That year, he let up 31 pressures and 2 sacks on 681 pass blocking snaps. Now, this past season, he had a 50.9 PFF pass blocking grade, which is a significant over 20-point decline, and he let up 25 pressures and 1 sack on only 312 snaps. So if you take that, you take a look at how many snaps he had in comparison to how many pressures he had those past 3 seasons. There's a huge difference between the first 2 years versus the third season. But, in his rookie season, Will Hernandez was a very good, above-average offensive lineman. The problem is we thought that he would get better year to year. We thought, okay, he already started off above average. He's already good. Now can he get to great? But unfortunately, as we get into his weaknesses here in just a second, he's only gotten worse year to year. His strength is his pass blocking. Run blocking, he was always decent because he was aggressive and he's a real hog molly. One of those big mauler types that's not afraid of anybody, will get into any fight, pick up the quarterback, and then throw the guy aside that pushed the quarterback down. That's Will Hernandez, and he's an awesome character off the field as well. I believe he was on GQ and did a really cool little interview thing on YouTube. But he's also always hanging out with Daniel Jones. He's got really great teammate relationships and all of that. So I love Will Hernandez. I want to see him succeed for the Giants, and I do see strengths in his game like his pass blocking. He's got good feet, he's got good hands, and he is very strong. He's never been a dominant run blocker for one reason or another, but that's really neither here nor there because when we look at all these great things about him, about how great of a pass protector he was in his rookie season, about how great generally he was in his rookie season, about how great of a character he seems to be off the field, about how frequently he hangs out with his teammates. You take a look at all of that, and then you look at the 3-year regression that he's had, and you get really concerned when you look at the future of Will Hernandez's NFL career. So as we get into the weaknesses, run blocking is going to be number 1. There's 2 facets to the game, pass blocking and run blocking. Run blocking, he is never graded above 62.9 in the run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus, despite, having 2 seasons of over 72 overall in pass blocking. He struggles in space and is a bit unathletic. I think that's really key to mention here when you talk about why he might have been benched this past season. There's a few other reasons why, which we're going to get into. Injuries, COVID-19. Those led to Will Hernandez's benching remaining permanent. But when he was benched for Shane Lemieux, you can't help but think that it might have had something to do with the scheme and his fit within the scheme. Because this scheme that the Giants are running now, this power gap scheme under Jason Garrett, uses a lot of pulling guards, a lot of pulling offensive linemen. Now, Will Hernandez has never been good as a pulling guard. He's never really possessed the athleticism necessary to get out in space and throw those key blocks downfield. That's never been his game. That's always been Nick Gates' game. That's Shane Lemieux's game. But that's never really been Will Hernandez's game. His game was kind of more similar to Kevin Zeitler, actually, who was a very good pass protector, was never that great in run blocking, and was never really a great lead blocker out in space. However, his pass protection was so good that he made it all work, and he was good enough as a run blocker. That's kind of what we thought we were going to get with Will Hernandez. But I guess in the Giants scheme, they thought two players with that playing style at guard was just not going to do it. And when we talk about another strength for Will Hernandez going into 2021, we will talk about how he has clearly, if you take a look at the pictures and videos that he's posted this offseason, he has clearly reshaped his body. He's lost weight and he has added muscle, and he looks like he's in much better, phenomenal physical shape. And that's going to be important for him as he does try to adjust and become a good scheme fit, going forward. Because, like I said, the reason he wasn't fitting in the scheme, lack of athleticism, not doing well out in space. Well, you drop some pounds, add some muscle, gain some speed, that changes things. Maybe you're going to be a good scheme fit this year. But again, let's get back to that year-to-year regression, because it's obviously the most damning thing in Will Hernandez's career, the most concerning thing in his body of work. His PFF grade, I know a lot of you guys aren't in love with PFF. I don't blame you, but it's just good to contextualize and have a baseline of his performance has been decreasing year to year. We all know that from watching the games, but PFF grades will give us a pretty good full story about that. So in 2018, his rookie season, his PFF grade was a very, very solid 67.9, which is at an average to above grade on their metric scale. Then the second season, it dropped all the way down to a 58.4, which is kind of below average. And then this past season, it was a 58.1, which is again below average. And those two grades are much closer together than the rookie season grade, which is very concerning, is his true playing level, the 58 grade, or is it the 67 grade, or is it hopefully higher than the 67 grade? The 67 grade, again, being average to above, but still. His grade the past 2 years in PFF, and really from the eye test, from any coach or anybody, analyst, anyone who will tell you his past 2 seasons have not been good. He has struggled a lot. His pass blocking got worse year to year to year, and his run blocking also was never all that good. To begin with, it was okay in his rookie season, but it got a lot worse. Just things have gone wrong for Will Hernandez ever since he entered the league, and we're not exactly sure why, but we'll, again, continue to discuss it. So again, when you talk about the pass blocking regression, not just PFF grades, but the actual statistics. Pressures per season, let's talk about that. 2018, 29 pressures on 664 pass blocking snaps. That's 4.4% of his snaps he allowed a pressure. Now, 31 pressures on 728 snaps in 2019. That's 4.3% of his snaps he allowed a pressure. So those are about the same. His pass blocking 2018 rookie season to 2019 sophomore season, about just as good. And it was a very good number to be at. 29 and 31 pressures, that's pretty good. 60 total pressures through 2 years. We can live with that number for an offensive lineman who's young and growing in the league. But then you get to 2020. Now, mind you, I said 29 for 2018 on 664 snaps. 25 for 2020 on 336 snaps. So the snaps were nearly cut in half, and the pressure total was nearly the damn same. That's 7.4% of his snaps he allowed a pressure. Now, that's kind of an unacceptable number. Like, 4% is pretty good. But once you get past that 6% range, you're talking about there's kind of a problem here. Now, it's still better than a lot of his teammates were. I got to say credit to Will Hernandez, because the offensive line for the Giants was really horrible in pass protection last year. Ranked dead last according to ESPN in their pass blocking efficiency rating. But 7.4%, that's starting to get kind of bad, but it's not at the 15% level that some of his teammates are at, so we can at least hold our hats on that and say maybe Will Hernandez isn't all that bad anyway, right? So Will Hernandez, like I said, the pass blocking regression year to year is somewhat concerning. Year 1 to 2, it's not, but then that year 3 drop off in pass protection, like, man, what happened? Like, you were a really good pass blocking offensive guard, and then this past season he just wasn't nearly as good. He was average to below in pass blocking, and his run blocking, again, below average. So overall, it was a very below average season this past year for Will Hernandez, and one of his biggest strengths turned into a pretty big weakness. So that's always concerning to see. And again, I do want to mention this. I said I would. The injuries and COVID absolutely had some sort of effect on this. According to Duke Manyweather, famous offensive line trainer that Will Hernandez has been working with this offseason, Will Hernandez actually played through the 2020 season injured. Similarly to how we just discussed with Andrew Thomas in last week's episode. Go check that out last episode, not last week, but the last episode. Go check that out if you haven't seen it already. When discussing Andrew Thomas, we mentioned how he played the majority of the season injured and then had surgery at the end of the year. Apparently, according to Duke Manyweather, we had a similar situation with Will Hernandez, who played a lot of the 2020 season injured, but there was never really any indication of that on the injury report, and I guess he's now expected to be healthy this upcoming season, should return back to form. Again, also remember, Will Hernandez did have COVID in Week 8, and apparently he did have some side effects, and that absolutely had some sort of effect on his play during the second half of the year, and absolutely did cause the Giants to ease him back into the lineup, or ultimately just keep him out of the starting lineup, which was unfortunate for him, and also unfortunate for the Giants' offensive line, because Shane Lemieux, as we'll get into 2 episodes from now, did not have a very good rookie season. So, Will Hernandez, all this taken into consideration, his strengths of pass blocking and his really good rookie season, his weaknesses of regression and run blocking, that kind of stuff. The big question now is, can Will Hernandez return to form? Well, there's no real answer on that. You just have to hope that switching over to right guard, hopefully that suits him better. And hopefully the new alterations to the scheme, because there's going to be some, this past year wasn't so good, so they're going to change it. Hopefully these alterations, hopefully they fit his playing style a little bit better, and hopefully he does return to form, but there's no way to predict that. Some players do, some players don't return to form after a slump, and this looks like a slump for a young player. He's young, he's got the potential, he could get out of the slump, but of course, ultimately, what is his true playing level? Is it that rookie season that was average to above, or is it the past 2 years of below mediocrity, below average play? Which level will he remain at for the rest of his career? That's kind of the question now after 3 years in the NFL. So this big question, can he return to form? Unfortunately, I don't really have a real answer for you, but I will say I think that there's plenty of reasons to be optimistic for Will Hernandez. Of course, healthier this year, slimmer this year, stronger this year, training really, really hard this year. This could be a big season for him, especially with a new coaching staff that knows what they're doing. So, bottom line on Will Hernandez. Will Hernandez has to deliver in 2021. In my eyes, he is on the roster bubble heading into the season. After an excellent rookie season, fans expected a good player to get even better, but Hernandez has sadly only gotten worse. Hernandez was not a good scheme fit in 2020, which is one of the reasons why he was benched for Shane Lemieux. Hernandez is slower and lacks athleticism that Lemieux possesses, one of the reasons that Lemieux did replace him in the lineup. After presumably losing weight and adding speed, Hernandez should be able to fit into the scheme better and could bounce back in a major way in 2021. However, his year-to-year regression is highly concerning and does cast doubt on Will Hernandez's ability to return to form as an above-average offensive lineman, though I think he can do it, and I really hope he will. So, all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to the second episode of this mini-series breaking down the offensive linemen going into 2021, and thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Tony's Takes. So, before I adjourn this court session, I'll say thank you so much, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you do not miss a video. Check out the Discord so you can communicate with myself, Alex Wilson, and all the other great Giants fans. We're going to have live game chats and everything else in there. It's going to be really fun once the season starts. And, of course, check out the member section of the channel. You're going to get exclusive access to fantasy football leagues as the season gets going, to Madden leagues, franchise leagues as the season gets going, and, of course, to exclusive videos, early videos, and extra added perks that all the members have and enjoy. And thank you so much to all the members who have signed up. So go check that out if you're interested. And without further ado, court is adjourned. I'll see you in the next one. Let's go Giants.
TVSO.